Hey boaters, my name is Jim and this is Raymarine Live. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to be talking about Axiom wireless features tonight. All of our Axiom displays have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi in them, and I put together a bunch of different content related to some pretty cool features that you may not know about or may not have taken advantage of in your Axiom display. So before that, I got a couple of news items, and well, let's see. Well, obviously here in the USA, we're just coming off of the Memorial Day weekend, which at least up in the northern parts of the country is the start of the boating season. So we hope your boating season is off to a great start and you got your boat in the water and ready for a long season of fun on the water. In other Raymarine news, actually just this afternoon, we pushed out a new lighthouse update. Version 4.6.148 is the release number. It is actually kind of a minor release. It has some minor fixes in it. If you've already updated your Axioms for the season, probably not a huge rush to get this one on your system. Do it when you have some downtime. If you haven't updated yet for the season, then you might as well put this one on and take advantage of other new features that came out in the 4.6 series software. You can download it from raymarine.com to a micro SD card and then pop it up into your Axiom, or you can go through the menu on your Axiom using Wi-Fi and download it right from the internet. So it's pretty easy to do either way. Another thing we wanted to just chat a little bit about before we get going tonight, a new partnership that we announced. Raymarine is working with a company called ePropulsion. So they are in the electric marine propulsion space. And one of the cool things that is rolling out in this Lighthouse 4.6 software is support for electric marine engines. So there are some new NMEA 2000 PGNs or data sentences that support electric propulsion. And those are now active in Lighthouse 4.6. And ePropulsion is the first company we are working with to have that capability in Axiom. So if it's something maybe you're considering for a future boat, know that it is already in there in the Raymarine system and ready to go. One final news note, and this is kind of an update from our last broadcast. Someone had asked a question about running an analog FLIR camera on an Axiom system and was looking for help because he needed a analog to digital converter. And I threw out some bad information the last time. You got me. I was thinking of a different product. The product I was looking for was something called an Axis M7011 encoder. And what that does, it's a third-party device made by Axis Communications. It converts analog camera outputs to digital. And when that device has the right firmware in it, you can actually run it on the Raymarine network. So if you do have an older FLIR M series or MD series camera that has analog output and you want to put it into something like an Axiom Plus that does not have an analog input, that device might be the answer for you. If you have questions on that, certainly feel free at some point to drop me an email or drop a question into the chat and I can get you the information on what you need to do that. So we'll switch over to tonight's topics. We're going to be talking again about Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on Axiom. So those two networking protocols have been in every Axiom since the very beginning. So no matter whether you have the smallest 7-inch Axiom or one of the big 24-inch Axiom XLs or one of the newest Axiom 2 products, they all have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth inside. So the first thing I want to show you is a neat capability called Miracast. So what Miracast is an HDMI over wireless protocol. So that enables us to take the video out of Axiom, stream it over the air to a smart TV or a monitor that has a Miracast receiver built into it. So this is something, again, all Axioms can do it. And it's been there forever. And I know a lot of you probably have not tried it. So what can you stream to? Well, the most common example of a display you can stream to is a smart TV. So most modern smart TVs, it doesn't matter if it's an expensive one or a cheap one, they generally all support this Miracast HDMI streaming. So if you've ever watched a YouTube video on your phone and then you throw it to your TV set in your living room, that's an example of Miracast in action. So Axiom has this technology built in. It can stream right to a smart TV on board your boat. Now, let's say maybe you don't have a smart TV. Maybe you have an older computer monitor on board, or you have an older TV set. Any device with an HDMI input can be made Miracast compatible by adding a Miracast dongle to it. This is just an example of an HDMI Miracast dongle. This one is made by Belkin Technologies. If you go on Amazon, there's a zillion of these online, and they're very inexpensive. You can get one for $20 to $30. You plug it into your TV. It's usually powered by USB, and then it creates that Miracast input. So let's take a look at how it actually works. So for my demo tonight, I have an Axiom 2 Pro 12-inch display over here, and I have over my shoulder a Samsung smart TV, and you can see it's turned on. It's just got the TV guide up at the moment, nothing in particular on there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to initiate a Miracast wireless streaming connection from Axiom to the Samsung TV. So Mr. Producer Man, if you could bring up the Axiom, let me show you where you're going to find this. So here is our home screen, and I'm going to go down here into Axiom's settings. So I touch the gear icon. I'm going to go to this display, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to point out a couple of settings in here that are kind of related to this. So first, we have wireless display, and at the moment, Axiom is not connected to a wireless display. But before we connect, I want to point out this next button down here. So the Wi-Fi in Axiom can be run in a couple of different configurations. It can be run in an open configuration that allows mobile devices to connect to Axiom and share information with it. It can also be run in a slightly more locked down configuration for wireless streaming. It creates more bandwidth, basically, so you get a better quality picture streamed to the TV. This is an either-or configuration. So you can stream to your TV, or you can connect from mobile devices, but you can't always do both at the same time. So before I can turn on my wireless display, I am going to turn off the ability for mobile devices to connect. And now up here, I go to wireless display, and I just tap here where it says not connected. So what Axiom is doing right now is it's doing a scan of the local environment around it, and it is looking for smart TVs that support Miracast. So in this case, it's actually found 3 of them nearby. It has found a Roku TV that's in an office across the hall. It's got Samsung TV over my shoulder, and it has a third TV. This was actually a monitor with a Miracast dongle in it, though it's turned off at the moment. Axiom knows it used to be here. It doesn't see it anymore, so it shows it's unavailable. So to initiate my connection to the TV, all I do is just simply touch on it. And if we could go back to the view that shows both of these, here we go. So I hit the button to connect, and on the TV behind me, you'll see kind of up here at the top, it has actually initiated a connection to Axiom. And we'll give it a moment to connect. It's actually got to kind of negotiate the protocol, link together, and then magically there it is. You can see Axiom is now on the TV set behind me, and this is done entirely without any wires. So it is a really cool way if you want to be able to see your Axiom maybe down in your stateroom or down in your salon or someplace else, and you don't want to pull a cable down, because you could do it in a wired configuration with certain Axioms. They have HDMI wired outputs, but that can be a big chore pulling a cable down. Why not do it wirelessly? The connection is pretty robust. So I have had this TV running here in the studio environment with an Axiom stream to it for days on end, and it has run uninterrupted. So it is a pretty robust connection. Just to show you a couple of other things related to it as well, I'm going to go back into the settings, back to this display. Again, back down here to this TV. There is a disconnect button, so when I'm ready to disconnect, I can just hit the button, or I can turn the TV off, and it'll just disconnect automatically. If I go back in here and click on that Samsung TV again, I have the option to unpair from it. So that would be to basically break the connection so that it doesn't see this Samsung TV as one it has connected to before. I also have an option to automatically connect to it on power up. So if this is selected and the TV is on, when Axiom boots up, it'll engage its Miracast connection. It'll look for this Samsung TV again and connect to it automatically when it starts up. So that's just an option that you can turn on or turn off as appropriate for your situation. So I'm going to back out of here. I am actually going to disconnect. and you'll see over my shoulder, the TV will revert back to whatever state it was in before. So just a couple of little final notes about Miracast. There are some occasions where you might get a message pop up on Axiom or on the TV. So for example, the very first time that this Samsung TV sees a new Miracast device, I get a pop-up on the TV screen, and it says, in this case, a Raymarine Axiom is trying to connect. Do you want to accept or decline? And with the TV remote, I just have to hit accept, and then it creates that link, and everything is off and running. Some brands of TV sets actually will require you to enter a PIN code through the connecting device. So we do support that as well. So if the TV requires a PIN code, it'll actually pop it up on the screen. You'll see, whatever, 3345. So over on Axiom, there will be a pop-up with a little keypad, and you type in 3345 connect, and then it'll go ahead and link up. So those are kind of the two sort of edge cases. You don't see it very often, but you may get a pop-up like that on your TV when you're trying to connect with Miracast. And again, if you're having trouble making the connection, if it's cycling around and around and the connection fails, go in and check that Wi-Fi sharing switch box and make sure that is switched off. And that will allow the Miracast to connect. So pretty cool capability. Again, nice convenience if you want to be able to stream on board the boat. So definitely give that a try if you haven't before. The next thing I want to talk about is how to get the Wi-Fi on an Axiom configured to work with mobile devices and mobile apps. So in this day and age, of course, everybody's toting around a smartphone in their pocket. You probably have a tablet, whether it's an Android or an iPhone. We support both types of devices on Axiom. And there are some great navigation apps out there that have some interaction with Axiom. So from Raymarine, there is an app called the Raymarine app, and you'll find it in the Android store and in the iOS iTunes store. The Raymarine app allows you to do things like remotely monitor what's happening on your Axiom, remote control it actually via touch. You can exchange data. You can even process chart updates through the app to your lighthouse charts. So some pretty cool things you can do there. A super popular boating app is, a super popular boating app is the Navionics boating app, also a well-named app. So the Navionics boating app is their mobile companion for navigation on your smart device. And again, available for Apple or Android. And with the Navionics app, you can do things like synchronize waypoints and routes and update Navionics charts that are stored in your Axiom display. And we'll look at how to do that in just a second. So if you're going to actually run any of these mobile devices in tandem with Axiom, you do need to set up the Wi-Fi access point in the Axiom display to be able to connect. And let me show you how to do that. So we're going to go back to the Axiom. I am going to go into Axiom's settings. I'm again going to go to this display, and I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. And now, because we are going to allow devices to connect via Wi-Fi, I need to turn this switch back on. And if you were connected to a TV, when you turn this switch on, you'll actually get a pop-up message, and it'll basically say, by turning this on, you're about to disconnect your Miracast TV. Is that okay? And you will allow that to happen, and the TV will disconnect. But now we're reconfiguring the access point for mobile access. So over here, I'm going to go to Wi-Fi connection settings and touch configure. And what we're doing here is we're setting up the network name or SSID that Axiom is going to broadcast to mobile devices to allow them to connect. And we can also set up the password. So for example, here in my studio, this Axiom is broadcasting Ray Live as its SSID. You'll want to set this up with something that is memorable to you, depending on what sort of environment you're in. Maybe you do or do not want to make it your boat name. That's up to you. Obviously, if you're broadcasting Wi-Fi, people may try to connect to it. But set up a Wi-Fi name that's going to be memorable to you, because you will need to go in on your smartphone or tablet and select this out of a list of nearby networks. So you want to make it something you recognize. If you don't change this from its default, Out of the box, it'll actually say RM for Raymarine. It'll have the model number of the product, so E12345, and it'll have its serial number, so another big string of digits. So that's what it'll be broadcasting. But you can go in and customize it to make it whatever you want. So for our purposes today, I've made this one called Ray Live, and I'm going to save that. Down here, you can set the password, and this is obviously the most important part of maintaining security on your network. So you can create a password, again, something memorable to you, or at least something you're going to be able to type in on your device. I have a very simple password in here, and if you want to see it, I will show it to you. My password is Raymarine. Write that down, Raymarine. But you can make this as complex or as simple as you want. This is a local network that Axiom is broadcasting, allowing mobile devices to connect. So I'm going to type in my password, and again, I'm going to hit save. You have the ability to change the Wi-Fi channel. Axiom will just kind of pick one based on the traffic around it. But if you have a particular Wi-Fi channel you want it to run on, you can change it. Most people just leave it at the default. So now my Axiom access point is turned on. My SSID or Wi-Fi name that is broadcasting out for other devices to find it is called Ray Live. And my passphrase, which is super secret, is Raymarine. I'm going to need that in a second. So very, very easy to set up the Wi-Fi connection. And this is for inbound connections. We're going to look at another set of Wi-Fi settings a little bit later on in the broadcast where we have the internet connective settings. So those are actually in a different menu. But this is for things like Navionics boating and the Raymarine app. So let's take a look at what we can do with that sort of connection. So now that we have it turned on in Axiom, Mr. Producer Man, if you could bring up my phone. And while you bring that up, I'm actually going to roll this TV out of the way because I forgot to do it when the people weren't looking. So you can watch me roll the TV out of the way. We don't need it anymore. There we go. All right. So I'm going to bring my phone into view here. Let me give it a little twist so that you guys will be able to see it. And there we go. All right. So we're looking at my iPhone. So the first thing I'm going to do to get my iPhone to connect to Axiom is I'm going to go into my settings. I'm going to go to Wi-Fi. And my iPhone scans for all the nearby networks. You can see I'm in the office. So I got all sorts of different things nearby. But I am going to connect to Ray Live, which is the SSID that my Axiom is broadcasting. So I would select it. I would type in the password, Raymarine, and then I would join this network. So my iPhone is already joined to the Ray Live connection. So I'm just going to close this up. And let's launch first the Raymarine app. So the Raymarine app I downloaded this afternoon out of the App Store. Oops, and I guess I left a menu open from before the broadcast. Let me close it for a second. We'll just restart. Launch the Raymarine app so you can see it start up for the first time. It has connected to my Axiom. And one of the things it offers me is something called display mirroring. So I'm going to touch display mirroring. It's going to connect to Axiom. And what I want to show you that I can do here from my iPhone is I have full control of Axiom. Now, granted, I have a very small iPhone screen, but from here, I can select things. I can scroll through menus. I can look at waypoints, routes, and all my other functions right here. Now, if you're doing this on an iPad or an Android tablet that's larger, it's going to be an even better experience. But you have full touchscreen control here through the app. Another thing I want to talk about related to the mobile apps, I'm just going to close that for a moment. There are some restrictions that you can set up through the Axiom on what people are allowed to do on the app. If we can bring the Axiom back into view again for just a second, I'm going to go back into my settings. I get the right mouse. There we go. Right into the Axiom settings. I'm going to go back in here again to this display. This is where all the Wi-Fi functions are. And there are some different options here for mobile app access. I can allow viewing only. So maybe you have somebody on board the boat and they're interested in like watching the radar or watching the chart, but you don't want them messing with anything. You could put this Axiom into viewing only mode. So they can see, but they cannot control anything. You can turn it off altogether. So it's actually a way that you can disable mobile app access without turning off the Wi-Fi altogether. Or we can allow remote control. The remote control would allow anybody with a touch device to touch any of those app tiles. They can change apps. They could change your radar range. They can open and close different apps and functions on the system, all via remote control from their smart device. So just keep in mind, you do have these controls in there, so you can exercise whatever level of control you think is appropriate on board your boat. We're going to pause for a second. Let's take a look at some of the questions. I know we have a big audience on tonight, which is fantastic. Thank you all for turning out. And I know we have a ton of questions in there. And again, one of the cool things we do here at Raymarine Live, I'll take some of them right here on the live show. But if I don't get to your question live on the air, watch for a response through whatever platform you chatted it in on. So whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or through the webinar app, we will get answers back to everybody. That's how we roll here. So let's see. From Philip, is it possible to download screenshot files via Wi-Fi rather than removing the SD card download onto a PC? Yes, it is. So using that Raymarine app, there is a category in it called management. And in management, you can actually do a file transfer between your mobile device and the SD card that's in your Axiom. So you could actually access Axiom's files, pull your photos and videos over to your smartphone, which is great for sharing purposes. Maybe you have a screenshot that you want to share out. Look at this giant fish that I saw on the sonar. You can also send things in the other direction too. So maybe you downloaded the Axiom handbook and you want to view it on Axiom. You can take the PDF from your phone, transfer it over to Axiom, and open it up in its PDF viewer. So that is possible with that app. From Neil, it'd be great to see how Axiom apps like YouTube can stream sound to Fusion and other audio systems. That is actually a great question, Neil, and we are going to do that in the end of tonight's broadcast. That's the last topic I have, and I have some show and tell items to make that happen. So we'll take a look at how to set up the Bluetooth in just a little bit. So we're going to get back to the show, and the next topic I want to talk about is the Navionics boating app. So in addition to the Raymarine app, Navionics boating is probably the biggest player in the marine apps space. I think just about everybody out there on the water uses it one way or another, whether it's for planning, for research, or even for live navigation. So it is a great tool out there in the water, and even more powerful if you're running it with Navionics charts on your Axiom, because it can do some pretty neat things. So on my Axiom display, I have everything all set up for Mobile Connect. I'm first going to pull up just a Navionics chart window so you can get a view of what Navionics looks like on Axiom. Most of you have probably seen this before. But what I want to point out here are just a couple things about this zoomed out chart presentation. So notice my boat is sitting off the coast of Miami, and there's kind of a two-tone effect applied to this version of the chart. So some of the area is in white and some of the area is in gray. So with the Navionics boating app, one of the cool things it can do is it can update your chart card that's plugged into Axiom. And the way that it does it is the boating app, when it has an internet connection available, it can update chart tile slices and store them on your phone or on your tablet. And then when it connects to Axiom, it can take those updated chart slices, send them over the Wi-Fi, and basically update the tile slices that are on the Navionics chart card. So what it's communicating to me here is that the area in white has been updated. The area in gray has not. So this is my newest data. This is older data on my map card. So we're going to look at actually how we initiate a synchronization of waypoints and routes and a update of charts. It actually mostly happens automatically, which is pretty cool. If we can go back to the view of my phone, please. So here is my phone, and I have the Navionics boating app pre-installed. I am connected via Wi-Fi to Axiom already. So I'm going to launch the boating app. And as it boots up, one of the things that it does is it scans its network connections and it looks to see if there is a compatible multifunction display on the other side. And in a moment, we are probably going to get a pop-up here. There we go. It popped up for just a second and it said, oh, Raymarine connected, and it identified my Axiom. And notice this little roundy wheel going around. And what it's actually doing is it's doing the synchronization. So I popped it open so we can watch the status of what is happening. So at the moment, it has bypassed synchronizing routes or marks. But if there were any to be synchronized, it would do that first. If I recorded any sonar logs with Navionics Sonar Chart Live, it will actually pull those from my Axiom and upload them to Navionics server. And then in the third position here, it is updating charts. And if Producer Man, can you flip back to Axiom for a second? Please notice when it comes back up that white space has gotten much larger. And that's because Axiom is receiving updated chart tiles from my iPhone. So that white area is just going to keep expanding. And that's actually an area that I defined in the app as the area around Miami I wanted to carry on my smartphone. I did that this afternoon, so it has fresh new tiles on it. And it just applied all of those fresh tiles to the chart card that had not been updated yet. So now the two are in sync. My app has updated maps within that white area, both on Axiom and in the app. And the nice thing about it is it's totally automatic. Happens in the background. Nothing in particular that you have to do to make that happen. Other than in the app, you do have the ability to go in and update your charts on demand. Let me show you where you would actually do that. So I'm going to close the sync because that has finished. But basically right here in the Navionics app menu, you can go to update maps and it will go out over the internet. It'll pull all of the latest tiles for the areas that you have selected that you want to carry around in your phone or your tablet. It'll pull them down and it stores them locally. And then again, when it next connects to Axiom, it'll pass them over as chart updates. All right, so that is the Navionics boating app. Let me show you on Axiom where all the waypoint and route data actually goes. So when it does that synchronization, if you have waypoints and routes on Axiom, they are synced into the app, into its route library automatically. When you have things in the Navionics app on your phone that are not yet on Axiom, they don't go directly to Axiom's memory. They actually get synchronized to your Navionics chart card. So looking at the Axiom display, I'm just going to pop out here to the home screen for a second. And I'm going to go into this function called My Data. My Data allows me to go in and browse my files right here. And I have my Navionics, I think, in card number 1. There we go. And then in here, there's a bunch of subfolders. I go to Navionic, and I go to Archive. And here's all the data that it synchronized across. So here's all of the routes from my app. And here's all of the markers. Markers are waypoints. This is just a little nomenclature change up. You know, on the Axiom, we call them waypoints. In the Navionics app, they call them markers, but they are one and the same. So if I wanted to pull in all of the waypoints in one shot, I just click on this file here and it'll pull them in. If I want to pull in all of the routes and the waypoints that go with them, I could just click on this. I also have these two folders of individuals. So if there's just one route I wanted to pull in, maybe I want to take this A1 Quincy to Hull route. I just tap it, say import. Oops, I missed it. Import, and it pulls it in, and voila, I have imported just that route. So it is kind of a nice, and then it gives you the flexibility to take all of the data or just some of the data. And again, you just browse to the card. It's in this folder called Navionic Archive. And then you have, in this case, here's individual markers or individual waypoints if you wanted to pull them in one at a time. Here's your routes individually if you wanted to pull them in one at a time, or you can just use this, all markers and all routes, to pull them in bulk. And that gets everything into Axiom's memory, and then it's ready to go. And where you're going to find these over on Axiom after you've imported them, I'm going to close out here. Again, I'm on the home screen. I'm just going to go to My Data. And if I go into routes, for example, there's that A1 route that I just imported. If I wanted to take a look at it, there's all the waypoints that came in from Navionics. And same thing, these will all be in my waypoint library as well. So I just go into waypoints. Here's all of them. And again, it's all the same waypoints individually saved into the waypoint library. And it does sync across waypoint names. It does sync across waypoint symbols. So it tries to coordinate symbology. And then if you make changes, you can sync them back the other direction. So a pretty powerful tool. Nice that you can carry it around in your pocket on your phone or on your tablet and then sync it very easily using Wi-Fi right there on the boat. Let's take a look at a couple more questions and see how we're doing. From Mark, how does Navionics and Axiom connect initially to allow the chart updates? You skipped over a huge part of the process. Well, yes, there is a couple more little things to it. I'm glad you're keeping me honest. You're right. I did forget that part. For chart updates, the Navionics boating app has a subscription component to it. So your boating app has to have an active subscription. Your Navionics chart that is plugged in to the Chartplotter also has a subscription component to it. Whenever you buy a new Navionics chart, you get a year of subscription included with it, a year of updates. And then after that, you can renew it at a cost and keep it going. But so to do that sync and that update of charts, you do have to have an active subscription on your app and an active subscription on your chart card. And then when they link up over Wi-Fi, the app actually will identify the card that you have, and then it can apply updates to it. On the mobile app, the area that the app stores on board your phone is not necessarily the same size as the area covered by the chart card that you purchased. So for example, the chart card that I have in this Axiom is the US Southeast. So it has everything like from Louisiana all the way over through the panhandle of Florida, all the way around the Florida Keys and up the East Coast, and it stops somewhere like in Georgia or South Carolina. So it's a huge area. You may not want to have that much map information stored on your smartphone because it takes up a lot of space. And obviously on your phone, you need space for other things. So the mobile app allows you to define areas where you want to have data in the app, and it'll sync the updated chart tiles from those areas over to the map card. Now you could draw out an area that defines exactly the same region as what your map card covers. But just keep in mind that if you choose to pull that all down to your phone, it's going to take up a lot of memory space. So you may not want to do that. The defining that ame is done in the phone. If we want to pull the phone up again, I'll show you where you actually do that. So out here, let me just go back to the top so you can see it. So here's the Navionics kind of main screen. And if you go to the menu and you go to download maps, and what it does is it allows you to basically draw a box. So I can zoom in or zoom out and define whatever parts of the country I want to take. Maybe I wanted to get all of New England on my phone. So then I draw my box that defines what charts it's going to pull down. I just hit the download button. Now it will go out to the Navionics server. It'll pull down all of those chart tiles for Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. And it's going to be pretty big. We can see it's 1.8 gigabytes is what it's trying to pull down. So you can imagine if I tried to pull down the entire southeastern USA, that could be 16 gigs or 32 gigs of data. So it can take up quite a lot of space. When you sync, those fresh chart tiles are available to update charts on the system if they are applicable. So hopefully that kind of covers it. If you have additional questions, certainly drop them in the chat and I can answer them for you. Let's do one more question and then we'll move on. Philip, is there a limit on routes and or waypoints? There is a limit. So in an Axiom display, the limit is, I'm trying to pull this out of my brain. I might have it off a little bit. I believe it is 10,000 waypoints, 50,000 track points, and I think it is 200 routes. But the total number of routes with all of their waypoints combined can't exceed that 10,000 value. I'm going to actually look that up, and I will drop a comment into the thread to make sure I have that correct. But I think I got the right numbers. I am reaching for those, but I answered a question on this not too long ago, so they're semi-fresh in my head. But there are some practical limits to how many waypoints, routes, and track points you can have in Axiom. Track points are the breadcrumb dropper, so the track recorder where it records where you have been over the course of a day. All right, let's take a look at the next topic I have for you. So we've looked at some ways that we can use the Wi-Fi access point on Axiom to connect to mobile devices. Let's look at how we can connect to the internet. So when we connect Axiom to the internet, there's a bunch of different things we can do with it. We can use it to update the software in Axiom. We can use it to connect to third-party apps. So we have an array of apps built into Axiom, things like YouTube, Spotify, Netflix. So if they have an internet component to them, if you want to stream music or stream a movie, we need internet access to do that. Another thing we can use the Wi-Fi for in Axiom is to connect to a wireless radar system. So our Raymarine Quantum and Quantum 2 radar scanners both have an option for a wireless connection to Axiom. So with those scanners, you just run a power cable to the scanner, but you don't have to run the thicker data cable up to it. So if you wanted to do that, that also uses Wi-Fi. So the setup for Wi-Fi to the internet is a little bit different than what we were looking at for the local onboard Wi-Fi. So the best place to see that is on Axiom in its apps menu. So here's the Axiom home screen. And down here, if I touch apps, these are all the third-party apps that have been installed on this Axiom system. And you can see some of the ones I mentioned, YouTube and Spotify and things like that. There's some other ones here that work with various pieces of hardware that might be plugged into the network. But what I want to call your attention to is this button up here in the corner. And this is where we can select a Wi-Fi access point or hotspot to give us internet access. So if you tap on this, an interface comes up that's going to look a lot like an Android interface, because it is an Android interface. The back end of every Axiom is Android powered. So what this device is doing is it is scanning for all of the available hotspots that are nearby. I am in our office in Hudson, New Hampshire. So there's all sorts of Raymarine gear all over the office that's all broadcasting that it sees. It sees smartphones, it sees TVs. Here's somebody's Verizon hotspot downstairs. Right now I'm connected to our guest network. So what you would do is you would pick the network name that you want to connect to. So maybe you have a hotspot on your phone. You connect to that and enter your password that you have set up in your phone. Maybe at your home dock, you can hit the Wi-Fi from your house. So you would use whatever your home Wi-Fi login and password is. At the marina, they may have a marina Wi-Fi set up, so you could connect to that. However you do it, you're going to, through here, select the network that you want to connect to, enter the password, and Axiom will connect. And I can tell that I am connected because I have my little radiating bars here that tell me I have good internet access. So here in the apps menu, since we're looking at some of these apps, let's look at some of the things we can do with it. So we have apps in here like YouTube, and we all kind of know what YouTube is. I know some of you are watching tonight on YouTube. So there's a YouTube app built into Axiom. I'm going to tap up here on the corner. I'm going to type in Raymarine, and I can search. And it should bring us back to, here we go. Here's the channel on YouTube. In fact, here's the live stream right now. Boy, that would be crazy. We can pull the live stream that we're all into the live stream. We'll get sucked into some weird portal. So all of these videos are coming from YouTube over the internet. You can click on any one of them. It'll launch and you'll be able to watch it. If you are a YouTube subscriber, you can log in with your username and password If you're a YouTube Premium subscriber, you can skip all the ads and all that sort of stuff. So here's last month's episode here on YouTube. So to get out of an app like this, I swipe down from the top of the screen, and you can see it gives me back my home button or my back button, so I can back up. I'm just going to pull it down, hit the home button, and I'm just going to go back into the apps menu for a moment. Another app that was recently added to Axiom was YouTube TV. So similar to YouTube, when you load it up, it connects through the internet, in this case to the YouTube TV system. Maybe. Come on, baby. Where'd you go? Nope. Let's try it again. Apps. YouTube TV. I don't know. I guess it does. Oh, there it is. Okay. Just took a second. I was trying to move it too fast. So YouTube TV is basically a streaming premium television setup. So if you want to be able to watch news, sports, entertainment, whatever you have, and you're a YouTube TV subscriber, you can do it right on your Axiom as long as you have an internet connection wherever you happen to be. So again, you log in with your home YouTube TV username and password. Your channel lineup will pop up. All your favorite channels will be there, and you can watch whatever you want. I know a lot of people were excited about this because YouTube TV here in the USA carries the NFL Sunday Ticket program. So if you like to watch football while you're fishing or boating, this is a great way to do that out on the water. So one thing that a lot of these apps that we have looked at have in common is they all have sound. So that leads us to the question that was posted earlier. How can I hear the sound coming off of all of these apps? Because Axiom itself does not really have a speaker on it. It's got a little beeper for its alarms, but it does not have speaker built into it. So there's a bunch of different ways that we can get sound out of Axioms. And it varies a little bit depending on the model that you have. If you have one of the new Axiom 2 Pros or Axiom 2 XLs, those units actually have a wired analog left-right stereo pair as part of their power cable wiring harness. And you could take the output and connect it to the input, like the aux-in of your Fusion Stereo or your JL or Rockford or whatever you have. You can take that right to an amplifier and then send it off to your speakers. So that gives you a basic left-right stereo audio connection. So Axiom 2 Pro and Axiom 2 XL have that capability. If you have an Axiom XL or an Axiom 2 XL, another audio output you have is actually HDMI audio. So you could plug in a wired HDMI cable, plug the other end into a multimedia receiver that does audio over HDMI, and you can pick off the sound that way. Probably not extremely common out on the water. HDMI audio, HDMI ARC, I think they call it. Real common, obviously, in home stereo and home hi-fi type of stuff. But if your boat is so equipped, you can do it that way. The other way you can get sound out of every single Axiom, no matter large or small, no matter what family or series it is from, is over Bluetooth. And that is the easiest way to do it. Again, no wires involved. And just about every marine stereo out there today supports Bluetooth audio streaming. So let's take a look how to set that up. So let's bring the Axiom back up on the screen. And maybe if you want to keep the studio camera kind of in there, what I have in my hand that I will hold up is I have a little JBL Clip Bluetooth speaker, just as a representative sample of a Bluetooth audio device. But this could be a Fusion Stereo or Rockford or JL, or it could be a Bose boombox with Bluetooth input. They all connect pretty much the same way. So what I'm going to do to start this off, I'm going to turn my speaker on. So you heard a little sound, it starts up. So over here on the Axiom display, we can bring Axiom back up. There's two places I can get to the Bluetooth options. I can either tap on the clock. And actually, one of the things that pops up there is Bluetooth settings. It's kind of an odd place for it, but it's convenient because it's right up in the front. And I would tap that, and it's going to bring me into the Bluetooth manager. The other place you can get to it is through the settings menu. I'm going to go to settings, this display, and down on the bottom, Bluetooth settings. So these take me to the same place. So I'll just tap it here. And again, this is going to look very Androidish. And this is the Bluetooth manager for Android. So on my JBL speaker, I'm just going to tap its Bluetooth pairing button. And in a moment, on Axiom, I'm going to say pair a new device. And there's my JBL Clip 4. And it's going to ask if it's all right to pair. And I will say yes. And now it has connected. And just to show you that it works, I'm going to go back to my home screen. I'm going to go into apps. Let's go back to, I don't know, go back to the YouTube app. I'm not logged into YouTube, so it's going to take a second for it to come up. But anyway, when I play a video or open anything from it, I think you get the idea. You're going to hear sound out of this speaker. YouTube is being a little slow to connect. There it goes. Yeah, coming up. So if we want to watch, whatever, you just click on it and let's see if we get a little bit of sound out of it. We're probably going to get an ad. We always get ads, right? There we go. So Bluetooth audio, very simple to set it up. Works great. Very reliable as well. And again, what's kind of convenient about it is there's so many different ways you can do it. You can do it to a simple portable speaker. You could Bluetooth it to, your earbuds. If it's a Bluetooth device and it supports audio, Axiom can stream to it. So pretty nice way to set it up. Let's pause for a second and take a look at a few more questions, because I know there's a lot of them in there tonight. From Neil, the latest Victron Gerbo GX app is amazing. The functionality is game-changing and eliminates several other pieces of equipment to monitor systems, batteries, tanks, levels, etc. Well done, Raymarine, on this one. Thank you, Neil. So yeah, Victron Serbo GX is a power monitoring system, and it is a Lighthouse app. So in that Axiom home screen, there is a Victron Energy app in here. When I bring up the apps, where is it here? It's on the bottom row, this blue one. And if you have the appropriate Victron hardware on board your boat, when you tap that, Axiom connects. It pulls up, the web interface from Victron, and you can control and monitor things right here on the Axiom display. So it is a great way to monitor all the electrical systems on board the boat. It's a really cool partnership. Pretty easy to set it up as well. Kind of once you get the Victron system in place, it's just an Ethernet connection between that GX system controller and the Raynet network. From Greg, works great with Starlink, by the way. Use the Predict Wind app offshore. Yes, Starlink obviously is a game changer out there for internet on board your boat. Lots of people have been adopting that, and Axiom does work great with Starlink. Starlink, I think, creates its own local Wi-Fi network. So you would go through kind of the same process I showed you for internet access. Up in the corner of that apps menu, just tap, find your Starlink's network name or SSID, enter your password, and you're connected. So that's a great way to get fast internet out on the water. From James, how do you do a Lighthouse update using the Wi-Fi connection? So to update the Lighthouse operating system on Axiom over Wi-Fi, it is actually pretty easy to do. So I'm going to bring Axiom back up for me. There we go. Maybe turn off his comments so they can see the menu. There, perfect. So from Axiom's home screen, I'm simply going to go to Settings. I am going to go to this first tab called Getting Started, and it reports for me what the software version is. This one's got 4.6.148. So this has that one released earlier today already in it. But to update the software, I just tap the button, Update Software, check Online. So now it's using the internet connection. It's going out to the Raymarine server, scanning to see what is available out there. And in this case, because I already updated this display, it is not it's not suggesting any software updates to me. I'm current, but if I was not current, there would be a green checkbox right here on the end, and it would say, we want to put 4.6.148 on. You have version 4.3, and then this update button would be pressable, and then you'd be off and running. So it is actually that easy. And if there are other devices on your network, like your radar, your autopilot, radios, AIS transceivers, things like that, any Raymarine items, Axiom scans all of them to see what software updates are available. And if they need updates, it'll push updates to them as well. So pretty easy to do as long as you have a decent internet connection. Great way to go about it. If you're somewhere where you don't have good internet, you can download all these files on raymarine.com in advance, put them on a micro SD card, plug it in, bring it to the boat, and update that way. What else do we got for questions in there? From Troy, is it possible to have route names that are longer than 15 characters? All my GPX files are truncated at 15. 15, I think, is the limit for that. And I will definitely take that as some feedback, Troy, and make sure our product team hears about that. I know there are a lot of people out there that have lots of waypoints and lots of routes, and I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I like to be very descriptive of all my navigation data, and 15 characters, I think, is a little bit short. So we'll take a look at that and maybe see if that's something we can improve in the future. But for now, I believe it is a limit of 15 characters. And like you're saying, seeing on your system, the names do get truncated if they get imported from an external source that allowed for names longer than that. So we'll see what we can do there. Let me just take another peek here. I want to make sure I don't forget any of our topics. I had one more for you. And this is also related to Bluetooth control. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cancel out, bring Axiom back up for me. Thank you. So this actually kind of ties in nicely to Troy's question about waypoints and routes and names of things. So if you are a navigator and you like to have detailed waypoint names and route names, and maybe have descriptions or notes attached to your waypoints and routes, Axiom supports all that. And normally, if I was in, for example, I'm going to go into my data menu here, and I'm going to go into my waypoints, and let's just look at one of these that I pulled in earlier today. So this waypoint has a name, it has a symbol, it's assigned to a group, which is something that gives it some commonality with other waypoints. So they could be maybe all related to a location. You know, these could be all of my Boston Harbor waypoints, or they could be all of my best tuna spots. So the group name is just a way that you can kind of sort them and arrange them. We also give the ability to add a comment. And you can get 150 characters here in the comment. And we provide this on-screen keyboard, which works fairly well. But if you are so inclined, you can actually connect a mouse and a keyboard to Axiom. And it's done with Bluetooth. So I'm going to exit out of here. And just to show you where that is done, it's really the same place we connected the JBL speaker. So either from the settings menu, this display Bluetooth settings, or in this case, I can go right to the clock and say Bluetooth settings. And here's the Bluetooth manager. And in this case, you can see I have they call it a BT 5.1 mouse connected. This is nothing special. I went to the Walmart that's down the street from our office, and I bought the cheapest Bluetooth mouse they had for like $5. And that's what's connected to my Axiom. If you want to get a keyboard, you can do a keyboard that works just as well. And you can actually type in any of those fields. So that is actually how I control Axiom here in the studio, so that I can actually keep my eyes forward and looking towards the camera and the screen. And I don't have to always look at the Axiom and be touching it with my finger. So you can see in the live stream here that the mouse pointer tracks, and it works exactly like my finger does. So anywhere that I click with the mouse would be the equivalent of a touch with my finger. Anywhere that I do a long press with the mouse would be a long press with my finger, so it opens up the context-sensitive menus. I also have the scroll wheel on the mouse, and that is equivalent to the rotary knob on one of our hybrid touch products. So for example, when I'm in a menu, I can use the scroll wheel to scroll the focus up or down to select something. When I'm out here on the chart, I can use the scroll wheel to zoom in or zoom out. A neat little trick when you're running a mouse on the system If you click first, that creates the new center point. And then when you scroll, it scrolls around the point where you clicked. So if I want to zoom in on Freeport, Bahamas here, I just click it and then scroll, and Freeport is now the center. So the mouse can be handy. Again, one thing that you can do, kind of combining some of these topics that we talked about tonight, you could use the Miracast to stream the HDMI output of your Axiom down to a monitor at your navigation table, where there is a Bluetooth wireless mouse and keyboard also linked to Axiom, and you could actually have full control of it. It's like an easy way to do a second station with very, very little investment in hardware. Of course, I'd love you to buy another Axiom because that paid for my daughter's braces and her straight teeth and now her college education. But I understand not everybody can buy another Axiom. And maybe you want to have a giant Axiom on a big TV downstairs. So use the Miracast mouse, keyboard, Bluetooth, take advantage of all those technologies. It's actually a really simple solution to make all that work together nicely. We got a little bit of time left, so let's see what else we have in there for questions. I know there's a lot of them tonight. We'll get through as many as we can. Let's see. I would like to install the Android app Race Cues on Axiom. Is there a way to do that? So currently, the apps that we allow to be run on Axiom are curated. But there is a process by which if you have contact with an app developer or there's an app that you really, really like, let us know what it is. And I'll make a note of this one because Raymarine does invite app developers to basically create a port of their app that will run on Axiom. We tend to be a little restrictive on what we allow to run only because Axiom primarily is a navigation device. And we want to make sure that any third-party software that's running on it is not going to interfere with that core navigation and safety functionality. But beyond that, if there's something that you would like to see, definitely let us know. Or if you have to be familiar with the developer of that app, have them reach out to us. We can get them in touch with our product management team that runs our mobile apps program. We always have new apps in the pipeline. There's a bunch more coming. You'll have more information coming out on that pretty soon. Yes. This is where we get in the plug from our shameless commerce division. If you are thinking about upgrading your helm, we do have our Trade Up sales event running. That goes through early July. So you can check that out online at raymarine.com. But we do have mail-in rebates on all our full line of Raymarine products. There is also a loyalty bonus in there. So if you have older Raymarine chart plotters or multifunction displays, they'll pay you a bonus of $250 per display, maximum of $500 bonus when you upgrade to a new Axiom unit. So definitely check that out on raymarine.com. And if you're in the market for some night vision on board your boat, FLIR is running a parallel promotion. So you can check that out on FLIR.com. Some great savings, up to $3,000 on FLIR products. And we got time probably for 2 or 3 more questions. Let's just keep going with them. From Carol, my swipe out data on Axiom never goes away unless there is another swipe out data screen active. I can never get a clean chart screen, even when closing the swipe out data. The narrow. All right, let's take a look at that, Carol. If you can bring Axiom back up for me, Mr. Producer. So I think what Carol is referring to is our slide out data bar, which is on the left side of the screen. If you kind of pull on this little tab with your finger, it will pull out the data bar. And then there's actually sub data bars underneath it. So this one has just basic data elements. This is running in a simulation. So this is simulating if you had a Rodan trolling motor, audio remote control for Fusion and JL and some other audio components, search patterns, another data bar. So the way that we can close this is really kind of 2 ways to do it. You can hit the X on the corner and it should fully retract like here. You can also swipe it with your fingers. You just kind of give it a push. It should go all the way in. It is possible to have it just stick out a little bit so that you lose the secondary bar. And it sounds like maybe that's what's happening. I think if you just give it a good good shove towards the edge of the screen, excuse me, it should close for you. If for some reason that is giving you trouble, the first thing I would suggest is just check your software version. Let's make sure that you have the latest software running on your system. Get yourself up into the version 4.6 at least. That's current. And we can kind of start there. And if it's still giving you trouble after that, certainly drop a comment in, and we can get some help on that. But give it a good push towards the left edge of the screen. That should get rid of it. Real respect charters. I purchased a Roku TV and I'm having problems getting it to mirror. My Android phone does it instantly. The Axiom sees it, but never puts in the checkbox and connects. So if you're having trouble getting it to connect, my suspicion is that it is probably that switch that we looked at earlier. And let me show you that one again, because it is kind of critical to making this work correctly. And now I'll tell you that I originally was not a fan of Miracast. And the reason I was having so much problems with it is I did not have this switch turned off. So from the home screen, we go to settings, this display. And we're going to scroll down, and underneath the wireless display, this one here in Wi-Fi sharing, make sure that this is turned off. And then I think that is going to allow your Roku TV to connect right up. We do have a few of them here in the office, and they seem to work. I haven't found one yet that I haven't been able to connect to. But it is often this switch right here is the culprit. So turn that off, see if it'll connect. If it doesn't, drop a comment in. Let me know what TV you got. I'll see if we have one here. I can kind of take a quick peek and see what I can figure out with it. But it should be able to connect. And I think maybe we got time. Let's do one more. I know we're at 1 minute after the hour. We'll do one more. From Mike. SR200 hardware is built by Sirius, not Raymarine. Oh, it was probably an answer to a question that somebody posted. So the SR200 is our Sirius XM marine weather and satellite radio receiver. That box is actually built for us by Sirius XM. I'll tell you this about the SR200. If you have ever been thinking about adding one to your boat, but maybe we're on the fence about it, Sirius XM has an awesome rebate on it right now. So if you pop on to SiriusXM.com/marine, you can get all the details on that, but they are offering several $100s off of that SR200. So definitely check it out, SiriusXM.com/marine, and you can see the information on it there. So I think that is where we will wrap it tonight. So I want to thank you all for turning out and joining us to talk about Axiom Wi-Fi and Bluetooth features. If you want to be notified about other upcoming Raymarine Live events, be sure to like and subscribe to our channels. We broadcast out on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and this week we added a new component to it with the webinar as well. So certainly we have your contact info. We will let you know about the next one coming up. Expect it probably sometime next month. So with that, we will sign off. Thank you for joining us and have a great time out there on the water this summer. We'll see you next time. Thanks.